Okay, Bob. Well, I mean, this is one heck of a collection.
It's just a little bit, Peter, of how the game has changed. I mean, it doesn't mean the great thing about football is the simplicity of football.
Yeah.
It's one green pitch, hopefully. Nowadays, wonderfully green. You've got to remember that they were bare within 2 months of us from the beginning of the season.
Right.
But 22 players. The officials, obviously, to try and do their best, which has got more and more difficult for them. It's the simplicity of the game. But the game, even though it's changed dramatically, I mean, this is the ball of today, obviously, that we've been looking at, and it is totally different to when I first began. Now, you're looking, this is a ball of the 40s and the 50s. So it's had the big rubber, look, it's still in there, the big bladder.
Right.
And of course, if this is how it looked when it was for a game, but you can see people who played with this ball who were defenders because they're still scarred.
Right.
If you headed this, you can even see the valve out here, and that's how it was. And the thing about it is, I think the weight, they used to say something like, they used to have to be 16.5 pounds per square inch or something of air in them. Of course, because of the thickness of this leather, by half time they were twice the weight. So that's totally different to this ball of today, a Champions League ball now, and that ball there, that obviously now moves so dramatically in the air. It's all about bums on seats, crowds, spectators. You've got to have goals. That is the lifeblood of the game. Sadly, for us goalkeepers, we're the ones who suffer, particularly with the modern ball. Far more predictable than these things. And then the kit changes. I mean, this is from 1971. These are actually the shorts I wore, so they look almost like swimming trunks. Wow. Nowadays, they're beautifully tailored, Italian type, tailored down to the knees. But these are the shorts that I wore in that particular final. And similarly with the kit, this is my beloved jersey from that game.
Wow, yeah,
this is a 70-71 final. So you've got the FA Cup, you've got the famous gun. Just, proud just to wear that if you love the club, because loyalty is something that's going out the game. And the year. And similarly with my first international jersey, very simple, very plain. In the modern era, I mean, this is 96, this is actually David Seaman's. I make a joke, I say, well, of course, the players of nowadays have to be reminded who they are, so they have their names on the back. There was nothing in our day.
Right.
Incidentally, I was the first one to have a 1 on my back, because goalkeepers didn't used to have
right?
Yeah, and it took me so long from being the college boy to making it that I asked Tony Donnelly, who was our boot guy, to say, get the biggest number 1 you can, because it's taken me a long time to get there. So, yeah, funnily enough, originally they used to number goalkeepers. It used to be 1 to 22, and one goalie was number 1 and the other goalie was number 22 before the Second World War. Right. But then look at the difference in the multicoloured jerseys, and also look at the size. David Seaman filled this.
It's huge.
6 foot 4.5 inches of absolute muscle and ability, and one of the great goalkeepers. But very different from 1957, my England schoolboys jersey, because I was only allowed to play for the country in which I was born initially.
Right.
And you see the thick wool, all the guys of this time, this is a sort of jersey of 57 that the players used to wear at that time. Biggest change of all down the years, what's the difference?
Sponsorship.
Sponsorship. Yeah. This is in fact the cup final shirt from 2003 Arsenal. They're now a different sponsor, but the game's changed. And then you go, these are boots from me from about the time I was 18, 19.
Okay.
No, probably fractionally before that, when they started to get more branded, because I do remember when I went off to university, these had actually gone out. They're the old boots. Believe you me, if you got kicked with these, you could knock a nail in. You never had broken metatarsals in those days, or anything to do with broken Achilles, because they are rock hard.
And is that just strong leather? As in, there's no infill type thing to it?
Nothing. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
And reinforced.
Wow.
I mean, look at these. These are one of my earliest boots ever. I mean, look at the protection for the ankle. Look at that. I mean, that is rock. I could knock in a nail with that. The little studs. A total change. I mean, down the years, I think it was Craig Johnston who came up with this idea of these serrated rubber. That was to try and impart spin on the ball. So David Beckham would do a particular, bend it like Beckham, outside of the foot, inside of the foot, and then gradually down to what I consider fantastic. I mean, these are actually Thierry Henry's boots that he gave me.
Wow.
He didn't like the black ones. He wanted white or blue or red or whatever. But have a look at this.
Yeah.
Ballet dancer's shoes.
Wow, that is incredibly soft.
Yeah,
actually.
and the only protection is on the heel.
Right.
A little bit of protection. You could have different size studs in here. You could have a medium stud or a long stud, but these were Thierry's boots. Little protection, but I mean, the most amazing physical specimen, and one of the great players. And then, of course, the colours come in, and these are Jens Lehmann's. You see, a much misunderstood goalie, but a historic goalie.
Yeah.
The only goalie to go 49 games without ever being on the losing side. That's Jens Lehmann's great legacy. I mean, who's going to beat that? I would say nobody that I know in the next, certainly in my lifetime. So, colours now. Yeah, they even wear pink. But the biggest change for the goalies, these are a pair of my pal David Seaman's. I had the privilege of being his coach for 15, 16 years. And apart from, again, having to be reminded to put their names, because we never had that. So there it is, a pair of his gloves. Huge sponsorship involved, signed by the goalie. And like wicket-keeping gloves, because, well, because of that, you know that movement on the ball that we were talking about?
Yeah.
I mean, these are, you know, you have that split second to decide. And when you look at this and you think, what do you need that for? Because you need to get as much on that to knock it away. Yes, you can catch with them if the ball's not got a great deal of velocity onto it, but on the back of it, on the front of it, that is thick, thick rubber. And so those, Peter, can I tell you, are a drastic, radical change to the only gloves that were available when I was a player. These initially, when I started, they had the name of Gordon Banks or Peter Bonetti on them. They were 5 shillings and 6pence, I think something like that. They're getting very tatty. And that's all we had. I mean, I played on any day where it wasn't wet, where it wasn't raining or the pitch wasn't wet. I didn't wear gloves. None of us wore gloves.
Okay.
We would get a bit of chewing gum and go, rub the chewing gum in, maybe a little bit of dirt, make our hands tacky like that. But then on a wet day, we'd have these, and people would say, "Well, are they good?" You never told the truth. They were absolutely useless. Well, but that's all we had.
I wouldn't have thought you could catch a ball very well.
Well, it was, you know, the great thing was you always had a built-in excuse if it was a really wet, slippy day. I probably played as well when it was wet and slippy and icy and everything than I did when it was dry. And the biggest change, that's about the size of my salary. I'm kidding you, really. But no, when you think that, you know, when I finished in '74 as one of the best Arsenal paid players at the time, was £130 a week was my salary. And people say, "I don't believe you." And I say, "Well, we got bonuses." And they said, "Oh, you got bonuses?" I said, "Yeah, £4 for a win and £2 for a draw." So nowadays, when you think it's £130,000 a week for the very top players, upwards.
You need a very big envelope.
You need a very big envelope. You need that, but you know,
wow.
It doesn't change the fact that, you know, you fall in love with the game of football, and although it changes, everything changes in life. The actual simplicity of the game is just the thing that keeps me. You know, without football, where would I have been? Without Arsenal Football Club, you know, where would Bob Wilson be? Would I have had a chance to go on to another career? Television presenting, would I have been able to front up, you know, this charity of ours for the saddest of reasons, but would we have had the response without football and what football gave me? No.
So not only historical elements of the game, but actually really quite poignant for yourself, because they mark almost that transition all the way through your career.
Yeah, they follow me right through the, how many decades? 7 decades. It's hard to believe that, you know, you're looking at, you know, decade 1 there, you're looking at decade 2 here, you're looking at decade 3 probably on there, and then obviously going through as a coach through the other years as well, right up to the modern day. And I will always love the game of football. I hate the politics of it. I hate, you know, the fact that they are not prepared to change when they should be changed. They should be using technology now. If you want respect, you have to use technology. So I'm very strong on that because I worked on television, and I know it's an instant response now. And you look at rugby and you look at tennis and you look at cricket, they have all benefited. And who are the, I hate to use the word that I want to use for the people who run the game, who do not understand that you will not have respect for the officials until you get more things correct. And just give the referee any time in the game that he wishes, have I got that right or not? Let me just have that. He can use it any time. 2 appeals per half for the teams on dodgy decisions. Penalty kick or no penalty kick, dive or no dive, anything around the box that is goal or offside element. That's the only. It's just part of the game that I will continue to campaign for, but I doubt whether with time running out for me I will see that in my lifetime. Unless we get some really people who are not as blinkered as they are nowadays. Quite sad that.
It is. It is.
Every other game's benefited.
Yeah.
Hawkeye and tennis, great. Cricket, great.
Yeah.
Rugby, brilliant. In rugby, if you do something in the scrum really bad, as you see something on football fields, you get banned for retrospectively for 3 months. Bring that in football, you soon stop the shirt pulling and the diving and the cheating that goes on in the game.
Yeah.
But I don't want to finish on a miserable old man, grumpy old boy. I'd rather finish on the joy of the game and what it does for people and the pleasure it brings to people.
Yeah.
And the sleepless nights when you're not doing well.
Great stuff.